Okay, Lieutenant General, good afternoon. I trust you enjoyed Parliament lunch as I did. These questions I'm about to ask Lieutenant General, they not necessarily directly related to the PKTT team and what you have put in your affidavit, but it speaks to your 38 history within Saps, which is in your affidavit. So the disclaimer here is that you have access to a lot of information in SAPS, whether you were directly involved or directly responsible, but you have information. And you will be able to direct us as a committee where we can also access this information, if indeed that there is. So we want to remind you that you are under oath, that we are here in this committee, and this committee has been established to investigate what is going on in our criminal justice system. So we are pleading with you that whatever information you have outside of what you have specified in the contents, but it speaks to your 38 years of history within SAPS, that you please assist us. Because it is be struggling here on this committee. So these questions I'm about to ask, some of them are on the background of that. Are we together?
We are together, Honorable Member.
Thank
to
you.
the best of my ability.
No, I agree. And when you, of course, you can say things like, this is what I've heard, this is what I understood, and you can direct us to people who will be able to provide us with evidence. So we don't want to do a podcast or a gossip session. But when you are able to say, no, then maybe you can go, there's this case, or go to that department and be able to get that. So that's where I'm coming from. So the first person I want to deal with is Paul O'Sullivan. So he's been operating within our SAPS in particular since 1990. You've been in the service since for 38 years now. So do you have any knowledge or experience of any of his dealings or operations within the criminal justice system, even if it's not necessarily SAPS, because you've also worked with with DBC and with defense, etc. So anything.
The first encounter with Mr. O'Sullivan was when I started to work in Gauteng as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner responsible for crime detection. In that, he was assisting with some of the investigations, and I know the first encounter is when Paul O'Sullivan was providing information in relation to other matter that was under investigation that was involving one of the convicted criminal, rather than Krecha. So that is when I started to know Paul O'Sullivan. Even came to my office with other files or the personnel of his office, but I received a call from him that they want to hand the dossier on another investigation. So I did interacted, and I know that Paul O'Sullivan was interacting, or Ndade Paul O'Sullivan, because he is older than me, and I'm taught to respect and call him Mr. Paul O'Sullivan.
So you entertained him based on his age. Did you do any investigations into him? Because, I mean, there's a lot of people, let's just be honest, that would send you messages, that will email you, say that they have information. Why was Paul O'Sullivan the one that you were okay to accept dossiers from, besides his age, given your experience in SAPS?
I did not say I accepted. I said he called my office because I was the deputy responsible for crime detection in Gauteng as a province then, and he had that dossier. So,
and what did you do with it?
It will go to the investigators, not myself.
But so you met with him?
I met.
Spoke with you for how many hours?
I can't recall how many hours.
It was long, hey?
It was very short.
Oh, okay. Are you aware of any investigations that have been conducted into Paul O'Sullivan? Even if it was just that he was listed as a person of interest, you were not curious how this person came across a whole dossier of information on a very high-profile matter?
It was not, I can't recall what the case was. At the time, he wanted the pursuance of, he should have submitted the dossier to investigate General Munu. I think he came to me that General Moon, who was the divisional commissioner at the time, he wanted him to be investigated. So that was my first encounter. And he submitted that dossier that was booked out to the investigators to continue with the investigation, because my role was to manage and ensure the work is done, not to do the work myself.
So more or less, how many times when you were in Gauteng did Paul O'Sullivan contact you directly and not the investigating officer to come and hand over information?
I think that was the only encounter, and other times where I would have seen or heard about Paul O'Sullivan, because I was the deputy responsible for detectives. General Sibiya was the provincial head responsible for the Hawks. So I take most of the matters that Paul will have, will be at that level of DPCI, and I got to know him from General Sibiya's point of view.
So did you and Lieutenant General Sibiya think that he was actually a forensic investigator? So it was you and, well, from what I'm saying, let's just say you for now, that allowed this man into our criminal justice system at the level that he was, because any ordinary South African private citizen, Lieutenant General, cannot even get hold of a police officer. This man is having meetings with you, and he just calls you and you make yourself available. Why?
Any citizen of this country who's having information on the case, who is inquiring about certain matters or any case, does have access to me. So it's not only that
normal South Africans, just private citizens, have come to you to hand you over information.
In my career, a lot. I can't count. I cannot count. Even now, I do receive emails from the people that I do not even know.
Come and you have meetings with.
A lot.
And you don't refer them to the IO. You actually
I will
take
refer
it in.
them.
So he wasn't unique at all in that way. And you trusted that this man was not trying to infiltrate our criminal justice system, that he was actually a forensic investigator. Did you, that being the head of detectives, do any investigations into him?
No.
Okay. So who does South Africa trust? Because the job of Saps is to protect our criminal justice system. You and your colleagues are the most senior leaders in this country. So if you can just go and get information from random citizens, allow them to have meetings whenever and however they want, who protects the ordinary South Africans from people who now we can see has been trying to capture our criminal justice system? Because it started off there. That's why he can come here into Parliament, walk out when he wants. He even threatens members of Parliament. So it started off there. And that's your responsibility, you and your colleagues' responsibilities to protect us, protect the nation, Lieutenant General. What happened? Why was that not done? Because everything, pretty much everything we know about him that we thought we knew. We have evidence that says otherwise.
I don't think for a person to come and share the information or to present information, it's untoward if you don't know where he's coming from, or if he is not or she is not doing anything wrong. Any person can come and present the case, and he or she will be, listen, that is what happened. And I can put my head on the block that South Africans, with the 38 years service that I had, I have been assisting people, and I'll continue to do that as long as I am in office. And you can trust me in that. But one person that has done wrong, or that was established afterwards but it's having other ulterior motives, needs to be investigated from that point of view. It cannot be correct that if a person just walk in your office, you don't know, you don't have a background, you just decide not to listen to that particular individual. But if there is an indication and evidence that shows that there is an ulterior motive, it will be taken from there. And again, it doesn't mean everything that he presents, it's having an ulterior motive. Hence, it must be interrogated and be investigated. And with the facts, then we can indicate that, but here you are overreaching. So at the time, it was not present.
So the question wasn't whether he provided true information or not, etc. The question is that we have someone who has direct access to you, a very senior official, you and many others, right? There has been for the longest time, you can just go and part of your job is crime intelligence. I mean, as Saps, is to keep abreast of what's going on in the nation. So at some point, as our highest ranking officials there in Saps, what is the story with Sir Paul O'Sullivan? Is he let's not talk about the evidence. What is the story with him? None of you ever sat down with each other and say, who is this man that has all this information? Because that is your job, is to protect us as the nation. It's not our job. So I'm not speaking directly to you, but it's you and your colleagues who are tasked with this, Lieutenant General. It's not us as ordinary citizens in this country. So I'm saying at no point amongst you and your colleagues did you all ever question who is this person, because he's been going around in media for the long time. I mean, the highest point was in 2019, where every single media outlet was reporting about it was iPad showdown with him and Pakhlani, our acting national commissioner at this time, and Saps. During that time, you in that senior leader position, was there any discussions about who is this person? What should happen, anything?
Discussions could have been there in casual, but the investigative authority and the intelligence communities, I believe, were doing that they were supposed to do, and they will provide the feedback and their investigation or analysis to the relevant authority. So it's not like we were folding our arms.
That's what yes. So you are saying that as a committee, we must go to those relevant departments and ask them about if they did any investigations and what those investigations were around Paul O'Sullivan's info. And I'm not speaking specifically about the iPad investigations, but about him being a person of interest here in this country. So you are saying that as a committee, there were talks about it and the relevant departments within Saps did take up, whatever the outcomes on the investigations are, you might not know, but we here as a committee must be able to access that information or request to access that information.
I think if it's available, if there was a report that was...
You don't own.
I don't know. It can be made available. I think this is the committee, and the purpose that it was established, it's to pursue matters like this. If that information is available, I don't think anyone in the service will refuse.
But there was conversations among senior officials about this, and from what you understand.
Yes, there were because
you were worried about the nation and our criminal justice system being captured by private individuals that we don't know.
Perhaps not specifically or in simpler terms that he has infiltrated, but to have him being the forensic, I think he was the forensic investigator, and nobody presented that this is not a forensic investigator. He might have not acquired those forensic investigation authority and
might not have.
I don't know.
So our evidence leaders, Chair, we're just requesting that we write to the relevant authorities to find out if there have ever been any reports or investigations. Yeah, our secretariat has disappeared, but we have some of our senior legal person is here. And if we can do that speedily so we are able to get if there are any reports. And even if there were just investigations, even if it didn't amount to something, but it can't be that we have senior SAPS officials who were part of this country and part of our nation and who are responsible for protecting us from individuals who possibly were trying to do exactly that. And they were just sitting with their hands folded, actually even just accepting information and making access to them so accessible more than any normal person in the nation. And Lieutenant General, you must know that the average South African right here is sitting and looking at you and they're going to say, don't even know who my IO is. And they have to get money to go even to the police station just to get a status of their case. And they don't even have money to do that. Then they can get to the police station and the police officer can just say, we don't know, the detective's not here, we're just waiting. That's the reality of what your average South African is dealing with, while some of these Paul O'Sullivans can just make a phone call and come and drop off a dossier. Okay, let me allow you to respond. Sorry, because I'm talking.
It's not correct that South Africans will inquire about their cases and they will be told that the detective is not available. There are processes, there are systems in place where we can follow up. Even myself, I'm no longer in the detective. When complaints come, I divert and revert them to the relevant authority that will assist. And if they give me feedback that they shouldn't, because I'm not in the detective space, but because I'm a senior manager, if I get feedback, I will communicate it back to the person who's making such an inquiry.
Lieutenant General, South Africans are going to drag you because I'm telling you that it's not. We understand that there are systems, there is. We get SMSs, they're not. Sometimes you can get an SMS, it'll take forever to get one. Who has been allocated to, you can go. And that is the reality of the majority of South Africans here in this country. We know that there are systems. We don't dispute that. Very functional systems, well, at least if they function properly, we will all be able to be well serviced here in the country. Let's talk about your IPID case. I'm confused. So you opened a case of robbery.
Of theft.
Theft, right? Then IPID gets a hold of this case because someone went to lodge a complaint that this case that you opened was perjury.
They open a perjury.
Okay, so, but anyway, there was a case there at IPID for perjury based on the theft. Is it theft robbery case that you opened, right? Okay, now I understand. So they opened that case, whether someone complained about it or whether they didn't. So IPID's core mandate, from what I understand, is to investigate serious police misconduct, custodies in death, torture, brutality. Does perjury qualify?
I don't know, but they're investigating.
38 years, you must tell us. I mean, they'll come and say otherwise if they disagree with you.
I don't know, but they're investigating perjury against me.
Maybe because you're a senior official. Anyway, they'll tell us. So you don't understand how they took the case, and I'm assuming it's based on the fact that there was a perjury case. So no, that they opened the perjury case. So, and the perjury case, the evidence is on the docket that you opened, right? So they still have both these files, which means, are they going to investigate from what you understand, or what should happen in terms of processes in Saps? Is it their responsibility also to process the theft case?
No.
So that case should have gone back to the relevant police station or investigating officer to continue the investigation, because they already have the information they need to do a perjury investigation.
That's correct.
And that hasn't happened.
I don't know. I haven't checked if the investigating officer has or got hold of the case. However, after engaging with them around September, the investigating officer did call me, but he called me on another case requesting that I should be a witness on another case that I believe had the similar modus operandi as my case. And I said, with all fairness, I will assist in any case, but they must remember that I still have a case. So I don't know if the docket is back with them. Okay. That I can establish, because yes, it's my case. I should know where my case is.
You see? Do you see? You're also a product of the rest of South Africans. You don't know what's happening with your case.
I have not followed up. I have not followed up.
So I think, Chair, also let us also request to get a report on IPID on what, because that will speak directly whether there's unnecessary interference or whether our whole criminal justice system has been weaponized by senior officials in our criminal justice system. And this is not to say that you didn't purge yourself and that IPID shouldn't investigate, but just speak to us understanding what is going on and why something like that would take so long. In paragraph 58 of your statement, you say that you made amendments, right? Or you say that there were amendments were made and it was in a pen handwriting. And it was done without your knowledge.
That's correct.
Yeah, so have you formally requested authentication of it, or because the file is still with iPad, it's just parked for now?
I did not want it to interfere
Okay.
with IPT's investigation, so I received what they have presented to me and I allowed them to do their work.
So in your experience, how would that happen? So someone would, because generally if you do any amendments to a statement, you have to do your initials next to it. So were your initials next to it?
It should be done in the presence of the depositor of the
yeah,
statement.
that's
You
what I
can't amend the statement
Without,
that I have deposed if I am not present. One. Two, it should be signed by both the deponent
yeah.
and as well as the person who have disposed the statement. So it cannot be one person sitting
Yeah.
in his office amending somebody's statement
Yeah, we
without.
agree. So what is so you're saying that it was amended, but there's no signatures on it?
No, I did not sign. I did not know
you
of.
didn't? Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted clarity. Then you said that you submitted, you did a typed statement because it was requested because the ink was fading on your original statement, or did I misunderstand that?
No, you understand it correctly. However, the type version was for the file that was at loss management office, not part of the docket, because the docket has the original statement. It also has the supplementary statement.
Okay.
So the file, it's done, it's at the police station, Littleton or PIU that was investigating. Immediately when I finished with my statement to open the case, I had to submit documents for the loss management for the purposes of the state property that was lost in my possession. So in that, the loss management office was requested that the statement, because it was a copy
Okay, I
statement,
got it.
it's fading.
Okay. Good.
So they had to have it typed. So they said, as loss management, I think procedurally as well, they will not do it themselves. Can I type the statement? So the officer in my office typed the same statement verbatim as is, just to deduce it in typing for the purposes of the file. So it is the statement that was meant for loss management, not for a case document.
Why didn't they just go to the police station and get the original copy? Because it seems to cause a lot of confusion. Why would it not go to the Saps printer or make a photocopy that is proper? Because it seems very like we're here because of a typed statement, or not here, you're not here because of that, but the situation is here because there's also a typed statement when you could. Littleton is not far from the headquarters of the Saps.
I think because it was the submission from myself, they will want it to be typed at least. So the same statement was just typed to have a clearer version of the same statement.
But do they generally ask for statements to be typed, or would they just use the original statement that you gave when you opened the case at Saps? Because you're not really answering the question why they didn't just go to the police station, what is it, Littleton, and ask for your original statement in the docket.
The main docket of theft have the original statement. The copy was then made to submit the loss management. So it's two different processes. First process is the docket, and you can't take out the original statement from the docket because there are processes that docket must still follow. Then when I submit the documents for loss management, I submit. So I take the copy of the same statement. After some time, because the incident is 2024 and the statement or the type statement was requested in 2025. And subsequent to that, I established—
It's such a long time. Why did you re-register it such a long time later? It's 2 years or not? Am I miscalculating?
No, it was not re-registering. It was just to make—
No, register it.
It was registered immediately in 2024. loss was finalized because I got the replacement phone. The loss management file was finalized and closed. Finalized, buried. I learned later that why loss management office requested a type copy is because iPad requested the file and they said the statement is no longer eligible and it needs to be typed.
So you
Hence the loss
clarified that,
management
Lieutenant
request.
General. I'm saying, why did they want you to type it? Because it wasn't a standard practice. They could have just went to the police station down the road and went to ask for a copy.
Safe to say they were having the original statement and they still wanted it to be typed.
So they specifically said they don't want to go to the police station. They want it typed.
The file was with iPad when iPad was requesting the statement to be typed.
The original file, I thought you said it is still at the police station, just iPad has a copy of it. I've misunderstood you.
They came to me in August with the file, with the same docket.
I got you. The then Chief of Staff, Nkabindi, when he was here, he said that he was not involved in talks when you were having, or when the National Commissioner was, when the Minister was having meetings with the officials of Saps, etc. His job was pretty much minutes and to give clarity. But in your statement, you say that he used to give input, and I think there was one meeting in particular, I think it was on the 6th of March, 2025. Did he get involved in operational issues outside of giving clarity on minutes or not, and have opinions on matters that he shouldn't?
He gave opinion in that meeting. I will not sit here and lie to the committee that he gave opinion if he did not give opinion. He spoke in that meeting.
Was it something regularly or something regular that he did, or was it that meeting in particular?
He will give input in the meeting either to advise the minister on the directive that was given that he is following up. But I think the tendency is that he will say something in the meeting. And I said, with the other chiefs of staffs that I worked with other ministers, it was unlikely that they will give opinion in the meeting.
And then what did the officials of SAPS do about that? That we now have a chief of staff that is getting all muddled up in operational issues of SAPS?
It's the office of the minister, which is the senior office to that of the National Commission.
Did any of you raise that with the minister, that we have a chief of staff that is acting outside of his duties as a chief of staff?
I did not, because I don't report to the minister. I don't know if the National Commissioner has raised.
But did you, as colleagues, have those discussions amongst each other that we now have a chief of staff that is getting involved?
No.
No. Okay. The Senzo Meyiwa case, your name comes up a lot there. Were you at the scene on the day? Did you attend phosphorus?
I was, this acting of me. I was the acting provincial commissioner on the day of the incident. I made several calls to the operatives after receiving a report of what happened. Because it's a high profile case, the practice will that you will contact the relevant office, General Sibiya being one, General Taiwe, the late Brigadier Ndovu, he was the head of the detectives in Gauteng at the time. These are the three colleagues that I personally contacted to get the reports, because I will not go to the investigator at the police station at my level at the time as the acting provincial commissioner to get reports. So I contacted the senior leadership of investigation in the country. Brigadier Ndlovu, the late Brigadier Ndlovu, indicated that he is awaiting Colonel Paho to call him, who was the detective commander at Vosloorus police station. So I said to him, you cannot be getting reports and reports.